Yeah, welcome here to Linz to my press briefing about NATO membership and about the Western integration of Austria, which we have to complete now. It's partly in German here, the slides, but I will explain everything in English as well for my international audience. And I call for support because what we need to do is that Austria joins NATO. And this is completely immoral that we have not done that. And here from Linz, I call for Western integration. I call that it's immoral, it's against European solidarity to stay neutral, and it must be ended. It's absolutely wrong that Austria stays neutral, and please, I call for that. We have missed this kind of Zeitenwende, which the German terms is kind of epochal shift. We have missed it now, and it's very tragic, and we need to get this done. It's absolutely necessary to join NATO. It's necessary to open our trade policy because we have this problem with our trade policy. We need to open it to America to conclude a free trade agreement with Mercosur and with all the others, like of course the African Union, ASEAN, and all the others. This is really very important. We have to open our labor market. We cannot continue here with our tragic kind of failed policy of xenophobic kind of protectionism. And we have to end also this energy policy of dependence on Russia. We are continuing, unfortunately, and that's very unfortunate. And our policy towards Russia is always like submissive, and that must end. And I call because some international friends ask me, what's the problem in Austria? I explain you, it is neutrality, because neutrality has developed in a kind of own identity narrative, and it has to change. We have to dump it. And the other problem is this kind of provincial protectionism which we have in Austria, and also this virulent anti-Americanism, which I fight all the time, but it's so strong in all political parties. And as well this anti-capitalism and anti-Semitism, it's really problematic. And this kind of xenophobic hate for foreigners against Eastern Europeans, which is so prevalent in our society, this has to change. And there's also a strong problem with anti-EU populism in the media, the lack of information, and massive Russian influence buying, which is funded by the energy imports. This is a big problem. We have to get rid of the energy, because with the energy we can also reduce, with the cutting off the energy, we can also cut off the corruption. And so it's very important to end this, and also to end this Soviet nostalgia and this right-wing Putin adulation, which is so strong in Austria. As I'm here now in Upper Austria, this is one of our regions on the west, on the border between Czech Republic and Bavaria in Germany. I'm calling as well for the Czech Republic to be an example, a role model for our security policy. They are already in the NATO. I'm also, as a start, I'm calling to stop to cooperate with the so-called nationalist party, Freedom Party, FPÖ, friends of Putin in Austria they are. This party is wrong. Czechia should be an example. They have elected a new president there. They are a very pro-NATO country. They are a role model in the supply for weapons for Ukraine. They do that. That's excellent. They are also very good as a role model in the energy politics. I'm also now in favor of nuclear power. I was not before, but we have to get rid of Russian energy, so we need also to produce more energy in Europe. Nuclear power is important. At least we have to stop this kind of anti-Tamerlan kind of populism, and of course they have to stop Russian imports in Czech Republic. That must be the deal. No Russian imports anymore, but we stop this anti-Tamerlan populism. Then we have also the Czechia as a role model in the trade policy. They are of course for the free trade with America. Then we have also Czechia as a forbild in the tax policy with the low 15% taxation brackets, flat tax, very good. I'm always in favor of that. And they're also much more open on the labor market, and that's very positive, and I applaud the Czechs for that. Also, the change to the west needs a more infrastructure between Linz and Prague. We even had once a railway with horses 150 years ago. It was very connected, but today the railway is very slow. The highway is not finished and we need to really improve, and we need also fast railways fast railways in Central Europe between Prague and between Linz and between Graz, Zagreb. It's all nice to have it in Germany and in France, but we need a European level work on this one, and that's very, very important. Yeah. So why is this now not working? Yeah, now it's good. Yeah. So here, these are the points, and I recommend here, of course, the nuclear power in Freistadt. We need a nuclear power station there. We need also a technical university, Freistadt. Freistadt, for explanation, it's the city in the north of Linz on the way to Budowice, and it's the optimal position, in my view, where a nuclear power station could be built. And then we have also Johann Blöckel Museum, that's the political leader of Austria to defend the northern part, which was Soviet occupied from 45 to 55, and it was then liberated by the state treaty. We had to concede neutrality at that time because of the Soviet superpower insisting on it, but we never wanted. We were occupied, and we should remind and remember this. And of course, we need also to say thanks to General Patton, who liberated us. It was America who liberated us and nobody else. And that's very important to remember. And they kept us free from the Soviets. They reconstructed with the Marshall Fund. They helped us to make peace in the Balkans and in Ukraine now to help the Ukrainians. So America is the quintessential power of Europe, and we need to be more pro-American and get rid of this anti-Americanism, which is completely irrational. Yes, yeah. So here we have clear yes to integration of Ukraine and of Kosovo in the European Union, and yes to the EU sanctions and boycott against our enemy, Russia. We have to call him enemy because he's the enemy, and we should be clear in our language, otherwise it gets confusing. And then we need also to have a direct partnership with Zaporizhzhia in Ukraine, a Marshall Plan, where also this region, Upper Austria, invests significantly in bilateral partnerships. I propose 80 million euro budget for such partnership, half of them for Ukraine and 40 million yearly for the other 9 countries to build infrastructure, to work on bilateral projects, to really make sure that Upper Austria is the pumping heart and the region which is very successful in that direction. Yes, this is a very clear way forward, and I have here the next slides I will promote, and I will see where now everything is frozen a bit, but I will try to show you these next slides as well on that presentation. The screen is a bit frozen now, and I try to check what is exactly happening. One moment, please. These are the first points. Very good, very good. It takes 1 second, don't worry. I will explain you everything. There's a little bit of a glitch now in the technical point, and I will continue with my presentation. And take a coffee in between. Yes. Seemingly it has not had a lot of effect. I have to probably do something else.